Do you have a hard time opening up or perhaps starting an emotionally vulnerable conversation? Don't worry, most people do. If you're new here, hi, my name is Denise and welcome to Color Me Well, a channel where mental health and diversity conversations collide. Today, Jaclyn and I are going into another happy topic as we discuss mental health conversation starters. Because the truth is, despite this channel, we both had to overcome our own barriers when it comes to starting vulnerable conversations. So we hope you can join us in this one here at Color Me Well.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Color Me Well. My name is Jaclyn.
And I'm Denise.
We thought that it would be very interesting to get into a topic around mental health conversation starters. It's something for me when growing up, I personally felt like it was particularly difficult for me to have those conversations whenever I was met with any sort of emotion of sadness, frustration, anger, even depression. I never felt like I could really express the way that I felt. If I did, it was always met with that firm, don't cry, don't be upset, don't be angry, don't be sad. And I would always contain my anger and my frustration, all my emotions, until eventually I would explode. I don't know about you, Denise, but I always felt like it was just this, it felt like I was like a Pepsi bottle and a Mentos put inside, and then all of a sudden everything would just come out. And I didn't know how to, like, I didn't know where to pinpoint it, where it came from. I don't know how you felt or how you were dealing with your emotions when you were growing up, but how, like, did you have similar reactions at all when you were a teenager or even a kid?
Yeah, I'm actually very interested in finding out, kind of the driving factors for you, because I did have the same feeling as well growing up, or at least I had the same experience in the sense that whenever there was something challenging in life or something that was very emotionally heavy, I would always be met with kind of the sentiments such as, keep smiling, tomorrow is another sunny day. That sort of messaging was always shared with me whenever I do display some sort of negative emotion. And at least from what you've said so far, it seemed to be coming from a different approach than what you've experienced, or kind of a different mindset. So I'm really curious, can you tell me a little bit more about kind of those driving factors, leading to why you're not able to express yourself growing up?
Yeah, so I think it was just I never got the opportunity. And it was so interesting because even recently, from what I've noticed, I've been watching quite a few TV shows, as you do in a pandemic, because what else is there to do? Just with female characters who, have similar background as me, South Asian. And I've always noticed that quite a few of those characters, it's that same behavior that I had too. So it was a lot of that, they would suddenly be very emotional, very intense. I think intense is a really good word to describe it. And I would really get upset with these characters. And I think it was because in my head, I was always thinking, why is it that we are always being portrayed like this? And we would always be labeled as the crazy brown girl, which is a terrible, it's such a terrible label to be labeled with. So I would watch all these shows, that have all these, amazing actresses who are part of mainstream media now, which is such a big jump for the South Asian female community. But it's the same thing you see. And I really was trying to understand where it was coming from. But one of the shows, which was Never Have I Ever, it really painted a really in-depth photo of that. So, you know, it's all about a girl. She's growing up in an Indian home, and there's a lot of things happening in her life, but she doesn't know how to deal with her emotions. And a lot of the time it leads to very erratic behavior, to the point where she has huge outbursts of emotion. And like I said, that really intense sort of behavior as well. And it really showed that because she didn't have that space to be able to express that emotion at home, it amplified in other parts of her life. And even though I saw it and I was like, okay, I get it, I understand. I still was like, oh my gosh, I really do wish that there were other characters out there that could, you know, be like the strong brown woman, and you know, like, rather than having us always portrayed as that. But maybe the fact that it's happening is because it's a problem that needs to be addressed.
So I looked into it further, and I didn't really see too much information around South Asian women and the way that they're being portrayed in the media. I did look into Mindy Kaling's story, and it was even amazing that she went from writing characters on The Office to being able to create her own shows that portrayed her own story. So for example, the Mindy Project is all loosely or basically about her mother, whereas the Never Have I Ever storyline is about her own experiences as a teenager growing up in America. The unfortunate thing is that there is a lot of backlash in how Mindy Kaling presents the experiences of first-generation Indian American women. And it's not true, because there is a lot to be said about her character in Never Have I Ever, and you can see the way that Devi herself is struggling to be able to be that first-generation Indian American girl in a predominantly white society. There's still plenty of room to grow and a lot more room for other stories to be told. But right now, I feel like it's a great conversation starter going forward for so many of us South Asian women out there who struggle to even discuss emotion and express emotion within our families.
Maybe families need to start talking more, you know, to their kids, and have an understanding of that, if that makes sense, you know? But yeah, that's what I see. Like, I think it's something that's still being uncovered in like a wider like perspective. But I feel like it's super important, and I hope that the work doesn't stop. And I feel like media like this will really bring it to light.
Yeah, I find it very interesting because, you know, from what you've explained to me so far, it feels as if there's this negative association when it comes to being emotional in the Sri Lankan culture. And I felt that for the Filipino culture, it's not necessarily that it's a negative experience and therefore it's associated with negative personality traits. But what I did find is, just in general, we don't know how to deal with the emotions because we've always been taught to be resilient.
We Filipinos are known for our resilience. As a people, we've learned the importance of picking ourselves up and pushing through. This trait has been ingrained in us historically through years of oppression under Spanish, American, and Japanese rule. And also geographically, because our country is situated in a location that is very prone to natural disasters, such as earthquakes and typhoons. And while resilience in and of itself is a useful tool, as a community, we've largely romanticized Filipino resilience to the point that it's become detrimental to our growth. At an individual level, these unrealistic expectations on resilience branch into toxic positivity, which often lead to unhealthy suppression of negative emotions. In a larger scale, these same expectations lead to reduced accountability on our country's leaders, because instead of questioning their actions or inactions, we end up either accepting or just simply brushing off incompetence or perhaps signs of questionable decisions because we simply feel the need to survive another day.
But I feel what happens is then it goes into, and I've mentioned this in our previous video briefly, it goes into this toxic sense of positivity, because it doesn't matter if the circumstances are very dire, they're very hard to deal with. The expectation ends up becoming that you're going to pick yourself up, you're going to smile, and you're going to get through this. And I feel because there's this cultural expectation to just work through your problems, then it completely brushes off the need to address the feelings of the individual then and there. And therefore, conversations just never come up.
I don't know about you, but I truly found it fascinating how Jaclyn and I had completely different reasonings behind our reluctance towards opening up. Next week, we continue this discussion by looking at how this ultimately influenced our current approaches, whether it comes to having conversations with others or perhaps our conversations with ourselves. If you've enjoyed our conversations so far, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you on our next video. Bye.